freedom dollars to spending dollars. There is a divide in how we use our money. In today's video, I want to talk to you about going from a saving mentality to a spending one in retirement. I am 6 to 8 months away from retiring, and 2026 is my year. And so this topic is on my mind. I have been watching a lot of retiree uncut videos, and one of the questions that they ask retirees is if they're having a difficult time moving from a saving mentality, one where you are building your freedom, to a spending mentality where you're enjoying it and spending it. And so that transition going from the accumulation stage to the deaccumulation stage is a tough one for many retirees. A lot of retirees are stuck. And so in this video, I want to really talk about that because I've been thinking about it myself and I've been planning a strategy for my withdrawals. Because if we're honest, it took a long time for me to become a disciplined saver. I started out and I was a mindless spender, and it took me a while to learn lessons and to get it right. And so now that I have the savings down pat, you're almost like not ready to let go of that skill, and it's part of your identity. You've been a saver for a long time. So to flip the switch and to go to the mentality of where you're supposed to spend down your money, that can be a tough one. And let's face it, the spending side of the equation requires a completely different skill set. So the habits that you had in place for you to save money are the same ones that hold you back from spending it. And so that's why a lot of retirees live well below their means in retirement, and they are cautious about their spending. It almost feels unnatural when you have to go from saving to withdrawing. It's almost like you are doing something wrong. But essentially, your freedom dollars were there to help fund your retirement. Their purpose is for you to be the beneficiary of your hard work. You earned your independence, and now it's your time to spend it. But let's go into freedom dollars a bit more, because this concept of freedom dollars, it's not a new one, but in the psychology of money, Morgan Housel was the one who actually termed it, and he believes that a freedom dollar is any dollar that you save for your freedom. So every dollar that you save is a dollar of freedom. And he has 5 points that he makes. And so when you reframe money that way, money essentially has two purposes: one for spending, and spending is money that we use for now, for the wants and the needs. It is our present day bias spending, it's in the moment. And then our freedom dollars are dollars that we earmark for our future. It's future spending. It is money that we use to essentially have autonomy over our time, control over our time. So one day, if you're going to cut the cord on the paycheck, you're going to be the one supplying yourself with the paycheck from your freedom dollars. In theory, that's what it's meant to do. But in practice, a lot of people fall short on doing this because they don't develop the skill sets or strategy for withdrawing their money. They wing it. And without a plan, people often feel stuck. And they continue to rely on the identity that took them so many years to develop. And so I'll do another video on why I think retirees truly struggle to spend their retirement, even if they plan for it perfectly. But in this video, I wanted to dedicate it on the topic of moving from a saving mentality to a spending one, because I think it is so important. Now, there are 5 points to freedom dollars that Morgan Housel thinks about it in a way. And I like the way that he frames it, because when you think of money in terms of freedom dollars, it really does help you save for retirement. It helps you save for the future. So, the first thing he believes is that freedom dollars is freedom is greater than riches. So I'm looking at my notes. He argues that money's greatest value isn't in material possessions. It's in your ability to buy back your time. And time is, your control of your time is essentially what true wealth is. It isn't about a car, a vacation, any status symbol that you might be able to buy. It's about having the autonomy over your day, having the ability to walk away from a job that is draining you and choose what you want to do for your dollar with your time. So every dollar saved is a small piece of that autonomy. And over time, those autonomy dollars build up and then they buy you your freedom, essentially financial independence. Number two, every dollar is a shock absorber. Morgan Housel believes that every individual has a 100% chance of hardship at some point in their life, whether it is a job setback or a end of a relationship, economic downturn, and essentially the days of our lives are numbered, the days of our loved ones' lives are numbered as well. And so hardship is inevitable for all of us. And he believes that freedom dollars are like shock absorbers for those hardships, because you can have problems, but if you don't have money, you can have problems and money problems, essentially. And so those freedom dollars turn crises into challenges. And so every dollar is like a shock absorber. That's the way he perceives it. And it helps you respond instead of react to life's challenges. And then number three, the power of small wins. He truly believes this, as do I, that having an emergency fund and stacking your freedom dollars is important, and that even small amounts matter. Because at the end of the day, every dollar counts and it eventually adds up. And so if you were to lose your job, every single dollar that you saved would be a dollar less that you would have to run to the credit card to use. And I've been in situations before where I was at my cap, at my limit. And so every dollar saved adds up. And I did a video on compounding and how even small amounts of money can compound over time. $1 can turn to two, can turn to four, can turn to eight, can turn to 16, 32, and 64, and so on and so forth, depending on the rate of return. And so freedom dollars add up over time. And so it builds in inches, not in leaps, unless compounding takes control. The next point he likes to make in the psychology of money about freedom dollars is savings is greater than investing skill. You don't need to be perfect you don't need a perfect marketing strategy, but when it comes to your money, savings is enough. You just need to be consistent at it. So consistently saving your money can mean that you could outperform someone who has investing skill, because particularly if you have a high savings rate. And so dollar saved is a dollar that is guaranteed. A dollar earned in the market is never guaranteed. It could be that we enter into a market that stays flat for many, many years to come. So freedom dollars are about resilience, not risk. And so he believes that savings is greater than investing skill alone. And then the last but not least is number five. And he believes independence is the goal with his freedom dollars. So at the heart of his message is independence, that every dollar that he saves is gives him one step closer to be able to buy his autonomy. And those freedom dollars do that quietly, that over time that they add up, and then you're able to buy yourself back your time, financial independence. So if you have the option to be able to leave a toxic workplace or be able to take time off, to be able to retire early, those are your freedom dollars at work. And so when life throws you a curveball, freedom dollars and independence is the goal with your money. So in summary, he says that every dollar saved is more than delayed spending. It's future control over your life, your time, your money, because it protects you from chaos and it is leverage to walk away from what no longer fits in your life. And so there are a lot of people who are leaving jobs that are toxic. And if they have freedom dollars stacked away, they're able to do that because spending dollars buys you things. Freedom dollars buys you the most important thing that money can buy you, and that is time. And in the end, time is the truest form of wealth because without time, all the money, you can't take it with you, so it almost doesn't matter. But here's the truth. Freedom dollars were not meant to just be there and never be used. You're supposed to transition to using those freedom dollars at some point. And I don't think he covers this as well in The Psychology of Money. The concept of freedom dollars are there, but the spending down of freedom dollars in your future is not. So the purpose wasn't to be hoarded. It is to buy you back this very stage of your life, this very stage of my life that I'm walking into. And so you give yourself your time, you're able to fund your life, and you set the means of your paycheck. And so, depending on how much money you saved, how much money you've invested, you essentially can determine your withdrawal strategy. And a lot of people have a tough time with this, particularly if they're lifelong savers. They have a hard time transitioning and moving from saving to spending. But after years of watching their money grow, it isn't just the numbers. So they see the numbers on the balance sheet. It's very psychologically difficult to do that. So there's a fear there's an underlying fear that what if they need the money in the future, how long they're going to have to live, and that fear of unknowing what they need their money for sometimes paralyzes them to use a proper amount. And so a lot of people cautiously do not spend their money down in retirement and essentially have more money than they ever use, and it is left after they pass. And that I do understand the idea of, for me personally, the idea of die with zero is a tough one. For some people, spending all your money and dying with zero and spending completely down, that to me would be paralyzing as well. But you have to set an amount in your head that you're okay to leave behind, and then set a strategy for yourself to figure out how to withdraw your money, from which accounts to take it from, to have the least tax burdens on yourself, to go into retirement, to actually enjoy the fruits of your labor, because that is what the freedom dollars are for. You saved your money for something, and it isn't so that it can be a monument. It's meant to be a reservoir that you use. And I like that concept of it being a reservoir. It's a body of money that is meant to fund the rest of your life, your independence. And so you are meant to spend down your money in a way that is sustainable for you to maintain your independence and preserve your funds in a way that allows you to live your life while the freedom dollars are slowly and growing in the background, potentially at first, and then retracting and going the other way as you age in retirement. So figure out what those numbers mean for you, because that shift to go from freedom dollars to spending dollars, that's a hard one for a lot of people to do. And it is really unfortunate because the same way that it took a while for me to learn about going from a mindlessly spending mentality over to a savings one, I spent a lot of time doing that. And I unfortunately do not have as much time, and I will not potentially have as much time in retirement to get it right. And the sad news is if I miss out and I get it wrong, I could be missing on the best years of freedom of my life. And so that withdrawal strategy and that ability to allow yourself to give yourself the proper means to live on. It doesn't mean that you all of a sudden abandon tracking your money and making sure and monitoring it so that is there to preserve the rest of your life. You still have to adjust, you still need to do those things. but you need to make sure that you're giving yourself enough money to live on in your retirement, and that you're not hoarding it for a future that will not exist for you, and your go-go years don't pass you by before you get to your no-go years and you can't even use that money. And so that is what that shift from freedom dollars to spending dollars mean. So before retirement, we're planning for our money to be there for our future. But in retirement, we're meant to use down that money. We're meant to be living. And so I know it's a dynamic shift. I know a lot of people struggle with that, but it's really important to build a strategy for yourself to spend down your money. And moving from freedom to using your freedom, that's a psychological and emotional shift. But the goal of accumulating to sustaining decumulation is an important one to actually focus on, to spend and learn skills to actually spend down your money in retirement. So many people do not give themselves enough. And so that's what I'm seeing when I watch these videos. A lot of people have the money and they're not touching their retirement. They're not using it to fund their life. And so they're sitting at home, not doing all the things that they want to be doing because they don't have a strategy for their withdrawals. And then I see other people living such a glorious retirement. They're living their life well. And I'm not saying that I'm not, in no way do I mean to judge how people are living their retirement. There are some people who, maybe like Ronald Reed, who died with millions. He was living his best life, and he potentially, that's what he wanted to do with his money and leave it to charity. That's fine if that's your goal. But my point is, find the amount that you're okay with spending down to, and then build a plan to do that, because that is really, you don't want to hesitate to, actually live the very independence that you worked your whole life to obtain. And then when you're there, you don't get to use your money in the way that benefits you. So it isn't just about saving, it is about spending. You're supposed to be spending those freedom dollars in a way that gives you life fulfillment. And that's what I want to see people do. So I want just for you to give yourself permission to spend your money and not be sitting at home if you want to be doing things with it. So take the trip that you plan to take, do the things that you plan to do if your retirement dollars allow for it. So the key is remembering that you're not abandoning discipline. You are just reframing it. You're going to be using your money, and that in retirement, it's about protecting your cash flow. You're ensuring your investments, your pension, your retirement income streams can support your lifestyle without fear. You're no longer saving for freedom. You're supposed to be living it. And so freedom dollars are still at work. They're just working for you in a different way. And if you think about that, before they gave you options for your future, in retirement, they're funding those options. That's how they are. The mission is to keep the system sustainable, to live off the proceeds, and to preserve your independence and give those freedom dollars time to keep generating income in the background so you can go live your best life. So you still monitor, still track, still adjust, but the goal is about balance. So you don't want to stay in the saving mentality when you are in the stage of life where you're supposed to be spending those freedom dollars. You want to be out enjoying your life, doing the things that you want to be doing. Now, if you don't want to be doing those things, that's up to you. But your freedom dollars should deliver what they were designed for, not just peace of mind, but peace in practice. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. This is Regina from Simply Fundamental. This is a topic that I'm really thinking about with my own spending, with my own withdrawal strategy. And so I know it's going to be a transition for me, moving from saving to spending, but I am so ready for it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.